It's official, Bay Area sirens are blaring. The point guard who turns chaos into control just crossed the bridge and plugged straight into Golden State's playbook. Malcolm Brogdon is a warrior. The second unit just found its brain, the half-court just found its metronome, and the West just felt the ground tilt 2 degrees toward Chase Center. If you can hear the sound of ball pressure dying a little on the perimeter, that's because a grown-up, driver with playoff poise just landed in Steve Kerr's lap, and the rotation math across. The league is about to get weird. Breathe fast, because the ripple effects won't wait for anyone. Before we tear into the blueprints, here's the promise. Tonight we're going to crack open exactly how a Brogdon, a rival, detonates spacing for Stephen Curry without stealing his oxygen. Why Brandon Podziemski's development actually accelerates in the shadow of a former Sixth Man of the Year. What this means for De'Anthony Melton, Gary Payton II, and Seth Curry in a guard room that now looks like a chess problem. And which contracts become leverage if the front office chooses to pivot again before the deadline. We'll talk cap mechanics without putting you to sleep. We'll map possible 3-guard lineups that torch drop coverage on command. And we'll get painfully honest about who loses minutes if this fantasy turns real. Most important, we'll separate cold facts from the smoke. Because the truth in this business will logic and timing intersect, not where hashtags scream the loudest. You're watching Warriors News. Fan Report, the only corner of YouTube where a Dub Nation heart and a coach's whiteboard share the same breath. If you want the Bay's smartest basketball talk with the urgency of a 2-for-1, lock in, subscribe right now, hit that like, and drop your favorite Brogdon comp in the chat. This fan base runs on feel and film. Tonight we're giving you both. Let's set the scene with no fluff. Golden State didn't rebuild. They rebalanced. The front office has been stacking 2 kinds of bets, precision shooting and defensive violence on guards, then asking the wings to connect everything without wasting dribbles. Brandon Podziemski was the revelation screen assist savant, hit-ahead passer, rebounder from the clouds. Buddy Hield brought gravity at volume. De'Anthony Melton gave you length and disruption at the point of attack. Gary Payton II is still the short-roll scalpel no scouting report can dull. Sprinkle in a Seth Curry reunion pure spacing, pure read and react IQ, and you've got a guard cluster that can score by committee and defend in bursts. It's good. But good is not the standard when number 30 lives on your timeline. The standard is May and June problem solving. That's where the Brogdon shockwave hits hardest. He is not a flash guard. He is an outcomes guard. He turns late clock chaos into a high-efficiency shot without asking anyone to be a superhero. He puts the ball on the floor to move it, not to admire it. He buries empty possessions the way a closer buries ninth innings. With Malcolm on, your offense doesn't feel hot. It feels inevitable. And inevitability is the most terrifying thing a Curry team can add, because Steven already bends the court into origami. Now you've given him a partner who keeps the folds neat. Here's where the fit gets unfair. Steph's gravity relocates bodies. Malcolm's patience relocates decisions. Put them in pistol action, and you force a defender to choose between chasing a 40-footer, sprinting off a handoff, or dying on a strong shoulder drive that ends in a floater, a foul, or a corner 3. Hide Brogdon on the weak side slot while Hield and Seth pin down on the strong side. And the low man has to tag twice no one tags twice against. Curry pace without giving up a dunk or a wide-open 3. Park Podziemski in the dunker spot as a short roll connector, and you've basically smuggled a 6'5" power forward into a guard's body. Play Melton with Brogdon, and you have a tandem that switches 1 through 3, cuts off air holes, and lives on deflections. The math adds up to clean looks or free throws. Every time. Now the logjam, that word your favorite rumor account loves to type. Golden State didn't accidentally assemble a guard room that requires choices. They did it because playoff series force choices on you, and it's better to decide in October than to beg in April. If Malcolm lands, something gives. You don't just pencil in 28 minutes. You carve them from somebody else's nights. Let's be honest. Buddy Hield's value is pure and loud quick trigger 3s. Relocation, willingness to run to the corner at 100 miles per hour, even if the ball never finds him. But when the guard pool features Steph, Brogdon, Pods, Melton, GP2, and Seth, the pecking order tightens. A bench that once promised buffet now has portion control. This is where the league's cold math creeps in. If Seth Curry proves in camp he's more than a nostalgia tour, if Melton's knee has spring, if GP2's health holds, and the coaching staff needs fewer two-way errors in March, the front office gains permission to ask whether Buddy's shooting can be replicated by committee while upgrading another slot. You don't ship a shooter for the thrill. You do it because Brogdon's arrival lowers your turnover rate, raises your crunch time IQ, and lets you steal 5 minutes a half where Steph rests and the lead doesn't die. You do it because the cap sheet whispers flex and the schedule screams size. You do it because titles ask you to pick a lane and drive it like it's yours. Let's talk second unit, because that's where Brogdon's shadow would stretch longest. His best trick isn't the steady assist. It's the absence of bad possessions. In January on the road, when whistles get weird and legs get heavy, a second unit living off read and react plus one steady driver is the difference between a 2-3 trip and a 4-1 trip. Imagine a bench group of Brogdon, Pods, GP2, a switch-friendly forward, and a rim-running big. The offense flows like water: slot cut, touch pass, kick out, drive. No hero ball. Just punish every weak closeout and turn every bad handoff into a layup. On the other end, your guards turn the nail into a minefield. Swipe, rotate, stunt, recover. That's how you choke off opponent runs before they become floods. And now, the sentence you came for: clear and simple, because honesty is what we do here. There is no league filing that places Malcolm Brogdon in a Warriors uniform tonight. No press release, no pen on paper, no hard confirmation. What there is and what we are tapping into is a confluence of logic. A veteran guard who fits Golden State's on-court needs like a custom-cut tee. A cap sheet with movable parts if you choose to move them. A roster already flirting with a mid-season trade if certain guards seize roles. And a West that punishes teams who can't manufacture a clean look in the final 3 minutes. In other words, this is the most dangerous kind of rumor. The kind that would make perfect basketball sense if it ever crossed the 50-yard line into reality. Let's separate the diagram from the details. Why would Golden State consider it? Because Malcolm does two things your offense privately wants more of: gets 2 feet in the paint without panic, and turns the ball over less than almost anyone with his usage. That means fewer live ball giveaways, fewer pick-six layups the other way, and more late clock we're fine possessions. With Curry, that's not redundancy. That's insurance. Steph's superpower is gravitational violence. Brogdon's is emotional anesthesia. Together, they make your crowd loud and your coaching staff calm. That combination wins ugly playoff games, the ones decided by 13 total made, field goals, and 6 made free throws in the last 6 minutes. Where's the risk? Minutes are finite, roles are human, and medicals matter. Brogdon's history has red flags. This front office doesn't trade for hope he's fine. It trades for we know how to manage him. You'd need a load management plan that keeps his legs under him in April while not stealing too many reps from Pods, who is the franchise's heartbeat of tomorrow. You'd have to be ruthless about closing lineups. There will be Tuesday nights where Seth healed or Melton doesn't touch the last 5 minutes because Brogdon's control matters more than extra shooting or extra deflections. That's not politics. That's rings. Let's get surgical with lineups because this is Warriors News Fan Report and we don't stop at vibes. Curry Brogdon Pods together might read small on a scouting report. It reads unsolvable on tape if your big can sprint into empty corner dribble handoffs. Brogdon screens for Steph in Spain pick and roll. That's a weak side defender forced to choose between a tag that leaves a corner three or a no tag that concedes a layup. Malcolm plus Melton with Steph resting flips the math on second units. You get point-of-attack clamps and a driver who doesn't let pace die. Brogdon, Seth, and Gravity Hour lineups with a movement big stretches. Drop coverage in the snap decisions, backpedal and gift floaters, or step up and watch the corner vanish. Your opponent's assistant coaches start eating antacids in the first quarter. Now, because you're already shouting it at the screen, what about Buddy Hield? Respect his tape. He saved playoff possessions last spring with kamikaze confidence. And that 33-point Game 7 isn't coming out of Dub Nation's memory soon. But front offices don't live in yesterday's box score. They live in tomorrow's mismatch. Buddy's contract structure gives you options if you need to rebalance later. If Seth gives you 16 clean minutes of shooting, if Podge gives you 28 minutes of glue, if Melton's screen navigation looks like Philadelphia tape, if GP2 is dunking lob back cuts on command, a world exists where Buddy's production is replaceable by committee and your one new need is a wing with length or a backup big with hands. In that world, a Brogdon addition becomes the permission slip for a second move you wouldn't make otherwise. Not to punish Buddy, to finish the build. History lesson. Real quick, because this team has an identity. Golden State wins when ball movement is a weapon, not a slogan. They win when they reduce mistakes. Not just when they add talent. They win when the second unit doesn't hemorrhage 5-point leads in 3 minutes. They win when Steph's minutes are leverage, not salvage. Brogdon leans in those directions. He is not a savior. He is a stabilizer. Stabilizers make dynasties less fragile. Zoom out to the cap, in plain English. The Warriors can thread needles because they have a handful of medium and small deals that stack cleanly. And because the league's new apron rules punish carelessness, not clarity. You don't need a max slot to add a high-end veteran. You need the will to consolidate and the discipline to keep your draft cupboard from going bare. The best thing about a Brogdon idea is that it doesn't force a 2-timeline civil war. Podge keeps growing. Curry keeps bending physics. The vets keep their defined lanes. No one is pretending a 30-year-old ball handler is a 6-year solution. You're buying 18 months of structure to lift the ceilings of the guys who are the 6-year solution. Okay, back to earth. Here's what is fact and what is fiction in our lane. Fact: Golden State's guard depth is real useful and borderline excessive. That excess is only good if roles crystallize. Fact: The front office has already shown a willingness to hold firm when outsiders want a panic trade. Fact: Training camp battles will decide early season pecking orders more than reputation. Fiction: That the Warriors will blow up a guard room on a whim, or that Malcolm Brogdon walks through the tunnel tomorrow. This video opened with the energy of a press conference because that's the only way to capture the emotional stakes, and because every time this franchise has leapt forward. It started as a late-night conversation that sounded too bold until it did in single quotes T. I want your voice in this. If a real-world, team-friendly lane opened to add Brogdon without sending out a core glue piece or selling the future, do you green-light it? Or do you ride with Buddy's shooting, Melton's defense, GP2's chaos, Seth's gravity, and Podge's growth, and keep your ammo for size on the wing? Give me your trade lines and your non-negotiables in the comments, who you move, who you wouldn't, and why. This channel has former players, coaches, and cap nerds in the replies. Iron sharpens iron. Let's build a plan better than the rumor mill deserves. My opinion. If Malcolm Brogdon's medicals are clean enough for a responsibly managed 24 to 28 minutes a night, and if the price tags you into consolidating only what you already consider surplus, I do it. I do it because he lowers turnover volatility, raises late-game sanity, and gives Steph and Podge a partner who speaks their basketball language at game speed. I do it because he lets Steve Kerr survive those non-Steph stretches without burning the playbook. But I don't do it if the cost is a core defensive identity piece, or if it turns Podge into a bystander. And I don't do it if it's just a headline that eats a pick you'll need when the perfect wing shakes free. The standard in the Bay is banners, not blogs. If Brogdon is a banner move at a banner price, you go. If he's a blog move at a banner price, you pass. Simple. Now let's clear the smoke one last time. Head on. Tonight's Brogdon to the Warriors' energy is a storytelling lens we use to examine a pathway that, on paper, fits basketball logic and organizational identity. There is no official announcement. There is no ink drying. There is, however, a front office that has earned the right to model bold outcomes. A head coach who knows how to fit adult guards into a motion offense without killing flow. And a fan base that understands winning time is built all year. Keep the phone charged. Keep the standards high. And keep the ball popping, because in this city, beautiful basketball and ruthless decisions are not enemies. They're a pairing.